Okay, now as some of you may or may not be aware, I run a small network called the MPH network. It's based of about 6 servers at the time of shooting this video, based in various locations, and I like to host, I host my websites on it, but I also host things like game servers, thinking like Call of Duties, Grand Theft Autos, Counter-Strike, things like that, Left 4 Dead. Now, this that you're looking at here is one of the servers. This is server number 2. It went offline a little while ago, and I was like, oh, that's strange, maybe the internet's gone down or something, so I have a look, and I can actually access the router and everything, and that's okay. But I can't access the computer. It's as though it's not online. So then when I get a chance, I went to the location where the server was, because this is another premises with decent internet. Upon arriving, I dug it out of the corner and found it in the state that you see here. Now, you don't have to really tell you, but you can see just how bad this thing is. This has been running around the clock, untouched, for probably about 4 years. Ignore the stickers and things on it, it's just the case that was around and bought. But yeah, it's not been touched, cleaned or anything, and I know what you're saying, oh, you should clean it more often, and yeah, I know, but it's just, this thing literally gets thrown in a corner, doesn't get touched or seen by anybody, and it just has a power cable in and an Ethernet, and that's it. There's no keyboard, no mouse, no monitor, nothing connected to this when it was running. And it was up against the skirting board, as you can see here, where it's sort of clean, where the air intake was blocked a little bit. But obviously all the holes are crammed full of dust, and it just wouldn't turn on. When you press the button, nothing happens. But they have got a light on the power supply, a little LED here on the back on these, which remains lit, but the system won't turn on. Now, I've not actually opened the case of this or anything like that. I've just literally brought it out and brought it here where I can have a look at it whilst I do this video. So I don't know what I'm going to find in there, what I expect or anything. Okay, so this is the actual server itself. As you can see already, it looks a lot better. I basically just got the hoover on it and sucked all of the dust out of it. I've not opened the case, as I say. You can still see that it's not perfect, there's some dust and stuff in the front still, but it got the majority of it out that I needed to there and then. I'm just going to start off by, well, firstly I'll tell you what's in it. It's got a Core 2 Quad Q6600, which is socket 775. Yeah, it's quite an old chip, but it was fine. I mean, 4 years ago I put this thing together using just whatever I had around. It has 8 gigs of DDR2 800 MHz, that is 4 2 gig sticks. It has a 80 gig, I want to say, Windows drive, the main drive, which is a Western Digital Velociraptor 10k RPM drive, like a server grade one. Then it's got a 500 gig, I think, secondary drive that's storing sort of less important games, files and things like that. Stuff that doesn't really matter, that's not urgently needed. The Velociraptor is mainly to accelerate the speed of Windows, because otherwise it can be a bit slow. But anyway, enough of that crap. Let's plug this thing in and see what it does. Now, I'm going to start by just plugging in the mains cable and seeing if anything different happens. I'm going to turn it around a little bit. Plug in this mains cable at the back. Now you can see the LED is on there, although it's a bit dim. Don't know if it's always been dim, I don't recall. But if we turn it around, try and fire up. Oh, it started. That's quite interesting. It'll turn on and off now. That is really interesting. It was completely dead. I'm going to open this side panel and have a quick look. Okay, there's the screw out. Now you're about to see at the same rate that I do what is in this thing. Oh, I forgot the fan on the side. Actually, it's not that bad. I expected there to be loads of dust everywhere, but it's really not too bad. I would have left the dust on the outside as well to show you, but I didn't want that obviously all over the house inside. There's quite a lot of dust in here. You can still see where the Hoover obviously hasn't cleared everything out. This was from a Sky HD box, I believe, as the hard drive is in there. So it was just kind of joined onto some sort of Molex fan connector I had hanging around. This whole machine is just built from random parts I had hanging around. I didn't put really any money into this system. So now we can see inside the unit. Let me move this light a little bit. That's probably better. You can see there's not really that much dust and dirt in here. You can see here even the graphics card is relatively clean, and it's right above where all the airflow is going kind of through. There's only a little bit of dust on the drives and things, as you can see there on my finger. You see there's quite a bit here on the heatsink, but it only seems to be on this side of the heatsink, not the other, which I guess is pretty good. You can see the motherboard model there. I believe this is an Asus board. It's IPIBLLB. It's whichever board was in this system already. I don't even know what the system is. I don't know the model number of the actual computer. All I know is it supported a quad-core CPU, and that's what I had around, and 8 gigs of memory. Now, one thing I've just noticed whilst I've been talking is right here we've got a leaking capacitor. As you can see there, that capacitor is leaking, which it shouldn't be. It should be a lot more like these other ones, which are just kind of flat. It's hard to see with the light where it is. There you go. It should just be flat like that, but that one is actually bulged up and it's also leaking. Now I've also just spotted a little bit higher up, there's bad capacitor here, which is bulged. Also the one here is bulged, as you can now see there. So that's 3 bad capacitors so far. No, that looks to be all of them. So we've got 3 bad capacitors, which one here near the CPU, one here near the memory slots, and one here near the PCI Express slot for the GPU. Now I know these capacitors are bad, they're going to want changing, so I will either take them off a scrap motherboard or get some new ones, whichever is easiest and to hand. But for now I'm just going to try and boot the system up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and we'll see if this system will actually turn on, because if it will I can make a backup of the files off it over the network really quickly. Turn it on first and then switch the input on this monitor. Looks like it may have booted. Yep, date and time settings are not set, it was saying, but that's okay, we can live with that. Will the system start? Yep, Windows are a recovery. Let's start Windows normally. I can notice that Velociraptor is really loud that's in there. Okay, the system's booted. Quite surprisingly, it's just loaded up into Windows fine, which is a good thing. So let's have a quick look at, first of all, what screen resolution we're running at. 1080p, yeah. So obviously it wasn't running quite at that resolution before, because these gadgets and things have moved. Both drives seem to be online and working according to the little gadget thing there. This system isn't actually running a server operating system, it's running Windows 7 64-bit instead, but it's stripped right back, and I've got loads of services and things disabled to free up more RAM. You can see Windows 7 Ultimate Service Pack 1 is what it's got on it. It's got a Core 2 Quad Q6600 at 2.4 GHz, 8 gigs of RAM and a 64-bit operating system. That hard drive is way loud. The graphics card is in fact, oh, the card readers are disabled, a GeForce 7300 LE, not a 7200. So there you go. And here's all of the servers and things on the side here. Now I'm going to plug this into the network and copy all the data off of it to my NAS box, and then I will decide what to do with the actual hardware. First of all, for now, I just need these files off here because there's some that I still stupidly hadn't backed up yet. Something else I've just come across as well when I'm copying all this data off here is that there's actually not all of the cores appearing. Now, I don't know if this is BIOS setting or if it's something to do with the board not being too happy about them caps. But if you look here, you can see Core 2 quad, but 2 cores. I'm not quite sure. I hope the CPU isn't damaged, because although it's not an expensive CPU, I don't want to have to go and throw it away when it's perfectly good. Well, was perfectly good. I'm hoping it's either the BIOS settings are set to 2 core somewhere, or the motherboard is the issue with that capacitor there. So we'll soon see when we get around to that. For the time being, my main goal is to get everything off it. I'm throwing everything over gigabit network connection onto my Synology NAS now. I also think that the Raptor drive in here is dying on its way out, or at least needs a very good defragment, because if you look in comparison, on the left is the Raptor drive trying to copy things, and on the right, when it calculates how big it's got to copy, it's a 500 gig random thing that's not the fastest drive in the world from a Skybox, and it tears the Raptor a new one in transfer speed. As you can see here, straight away, over 30, 35 megs a second, whereas the Raptor's struggling to get past 4. Okay, so I'll be leaving this video here for now. In the end, the capacitors on the motherboard were changed, and that resolved the power issues that it had intermittently, and the CPU only showing up as 2 cores was because of a BIOS setting that was limiting it to a dual core for some strange reason. I did manage to copy all the data off, but then I scrapped the drives that were currently in the server because they were starting to show errors, and I'm not continuing to use this server anyway, so it is now offline and has been for the last little while. The reason being that it's been replaced with a more stable and powerful system that can do the jobs of 2 of these servers in one box, so obviously that's more power efficient, and it's generally just more reliable as well. But thanks for watching this video. If you found it interesting, useful, helpful in any way, please leave a like down below. Any questions or suggestions, leave them down in the comments. Check out the links down below to my social media, where you can find my Facebook, Twitter, and other such social media platforms. And remember to get subscribed for future random technology videos just like this one. Thank you for watching.